There was a man I once knew, a retired railroad worker named Frank. He spent 40 years laying track across the Midwest, hammering steel into frozen earth, watching the sun rise through diesel smoke. His body bore the weight of a life spent moving others forward. But in the quiet that came after retirement, he told me something that stuck with me. "Doc," he said, "it's like my body's forgotten how to respond. I still want to, I still care, but it's gone quiet down there, like the signal got lost." I've heard that quiet from men of all walks of life: soldiers, teachers, mechanics, ministers, men who gave everything to others but now feel estranged from their own bodies. I'm Dr. Thomas Leighton. I've walked beside men through prostate surgeries, heart scares, divorces, and losses too deep to name. And one thing I've learned is this: most men over 60 carry a burden they rarely talk about. The body slows. Blood doesn't flow like it used to. But the H for connection, for closeness, for feeling alive, that doesn't go away. It just gets buried under years of silence. But I want to tell you something today. Something you may not have heard before, or perhaps stopped believing. It is not too late. You are not too old. And no, this isn't about pills or pressure or chasing youth. This is about remembering a power that still lives within your body. A quiet switch that you can reach for any time you need it. No side effects. No shame. No prescriptions. If this message speaks to you, type 1. If you're unsure, type 0. Either way, thank you for listening. End of slay. When I first heard about tapping these so-called energy points on the body, I'll be honest, I was skeptical. I came up through traditional medicine, Harvard, Johns Hopkins. We were trained to look at the blood, the hormones, the medications, not invisible points on the foot or crown of the head. But years later, sitting across from a man named Walter, age 74, widowed, deeply ashamed of what he called his failures, I found myself trying something I never imagined I'd recommend. "Just press here," I said, gently tapping a spot just below his belly button. He raised an eyebrow. "That's it?" "That's it," I said. What happened next wasn't dramatic. No fireworks. But a week later, he came back with tears in his eyes. "For the first time in years," he told me, "I felt something. Not just physically, but like a spark came back." What he didn't know was that he'd activated something ancient, something deeply rooted in both Eastern practice and Western physiology. That spot just below the navel? In traditional Chinese medicine, it's called the Sea of Energy, CV6. It's believed to be a reservoir where life force, or qi, gathers. But we don't have to believe in qi to understand the power of this point. Science tells us that just beneath that surface lies a web of nerves and blood vessels, key players in pelvic function, arousal, and even emotional regulation. When we stimulate this point with gentle tapping or pressure, we don't just trigger blood flow. We signal to the nervous system that it's safe to relax. And that safety, that deep sense of calm and readiness, is exactly what the body needs for a strong, reliable erection. You see, arousal doesn't begin in the penis. It begins in the brain and travels through a delicate network of signals involving the heart, the lungs, the muscles, the blood vessels. If you're tense, if your thoughts are racing, your body won't respond. It can't. The doors are shut. But tapping done with intention, done with care, can open those doors again. It's like waking a sleeping animal. You don't shout at it. You don't shake it. You kneel beside it quietly and whisper, "It's okay now. You can come back." I often tell men to begin with this. Place 2 fingers about an inch or so below your belly button. Take a deep breath in and gently tap light, rhythmic pulses, almost like rain on a rooftop. Do this for about a minute. Breathe slow. Don't force anything. Just notice what begins to stir. You might feel warmth, or a soft tingling, or maybe just the relief of finally being present. This isn't about performance. It's about returning to the part of yourself that still wants to feel alive. And I want to share this too because it matters. Many older men carry shame in this part of the body. Not just physical tension, but emotional weight from past failures, rejections, or just years of feeling like less of a man. When you tap here, you're not just stimulating nerves. You're making peace with yourself. You're saying, I am still here, and I still matter. I'm discreet. But the sea of energy is only the beginning, because as powerful as this point is, there's another one far from the pelvis that holds the key to calming the mind. And if the body is ready, but the mind is in chaos, everything still shuts down. I'll never forget George, 68 years old, still strong, still healthy, but every time he got close to intimacy, his body betrayed him. Not because of blood flow, because of fear. His heart would race, his thoughts would spiral, and his erection would disappear. I feel like my mind and my body, he said, are in two different rooms. That's when I introduced him to the second point, one that most men overlook because it's found at the very bottom of the body. It's called K1, the bubbling spring, right at the sole of the foot. Place your thumb just under the ball of your foot, in the soft area near the center. That's the spot. Press it, tap it gently, or even massage it in small circles. What you're doing here is grounding yourself. You're pulling energy downward, out of the swirling mind and back into the earth. For George, it changed everything. 20 seconds on each foot, every night before bed. And within a week, he wasn't just getting better erections. He was sleeping better, feeling steadier, more himself. There's something deeply masculine and deeply comforting about touching your feet before intimacy. You remember that you're rooted, that you're not drifting anymore, that you belong to your body and your body belongs to you. Richard's story stayed with me, not just because of the words he said, but because of the silence that followed them. After he spoke, he looked down at his hands. Hands that had once held a classroom in order, built fences, repaired the roof after a storm. But in that moment, they trembled with doubt. Not because they were weak, but because they no longer knew what to reach for. That's the part many people don't understand about aging. It's not just the aches or the slower mornings. It's the quiet loss of certainty. The feeling that what once came naturally, connection, intimacy, presence, now requires effort, explanation, or worse, apology. But there's a different path, and it begins not with performance but with permission. That's what the third point, GV20, helps restore. GV20 sits at the very top of your head. If you take your thumb and middle finger and place them on the tips of your ears, then trace a line straight up until your fingers meet at the top, you'll find it. Some men tap it, others just place their fingers there and breathe. Either way, the result is the same. The mind begins to slow. And when the mind slows, the body often follows. Science tells us this point sits along the governing meridian, a channel connected to the brain and spinal cord. When stimulated, it may influence the parasympathetic nervous system, the same system that allows the body to rest, digest, and yes, respond sexually. You're not activating arousal directly. You're creating the space for it to return. Because here's the truth. Stress is the single most common reason men over 60 experience erection issues even when all the plumbing still works. It's not just about blood flow. It's about where that blood is allowed to go. If your mind is filled with tension, fear, pressure, your nervous system clamps down. GV20 helps open that gate. And for many men, it becomes more than a technique. It becomes a kind of homecoming. One man, Donald, age 69, told me he now taps GV20 before every date, not for arousal, but for presence. It brings me back to myself, he said. Before I walk in to meet her, I tap that spot and just breathe. Not trying to impress, just trying to be real. I couldn't have said it better. Because real intimacy doesn't begin with the body. It begins with attention, and GV20 is a way to bring that attention out of the noise and back into the moment. It completes the circuit. Point 1, CV6, awakens energy in the lower abdomen. Point 2, K1, grounds that energy and calms the body. Point 3, GV20, clears the mind and opens space for connection. It's like tuning an old radio. First, you raise the antenna. Then, you reduce the static. Then, finally, you find the station again. And when you do, the music plays. Ender? Now that you know the 3 points, let's talk about how they work together in practice. I call it the sequence tap. It's not a program, not a prescription. Just a small, intentional ritual that takes under 2 minutes and can be done in complete privacy. No one has to know. Not your partner, not your doctor, not even your mirror. It's for you, and only you. Here's how it works. Step 1. Start with CV6. Place your fingers about 1 to 2 inches below your navel. Gently tap in a rhythmic pattern light, enough not to bruise, firm enough to feel. Do this for about 60 seconds. Breathe deeply as you do. Feel your center begin to warm. Step 2. Bring your hands to the crown of your head GV20. Tap with your fingertips for 30 seconds. Eyes closed if possible. Let your thoughts drift away like leaves on a stream. Step 3. Sit down, if needed, and place your thumbs into the soles of your feet K1. Massage or tap gently for 20-30 seconds on each foot. You can hum quietly, or just breathe. That's it. A total of 2 minutes, give or take. And when you finish, you don't need to do anything else. No checklist, no expectation. Just notice what shifts. One of my patients, Eliage, 75, told me this. I used to think I had to be perfect for her. Now I realize I just need to be present. That's the essence of this work. Tapping isn't about getting hard. It's about getting here. Back to the moment. Back to yourself. Back to the part of you that knows how to feel. Because performance fades, but presence endures. And that's what most women want anyway. Not perfection, but presence. A man who shows up, not just in body, but in breath, in attention, in spirit. If you're feeling skeptical right now, that's okay. If someone had told me 30 years ago that tapping your foot or your head could affect intimacy, I might have laughed too. But time has a way of softening our certainties, and experience has a way of humbling our assumptions. After listening to hundreds of stories from men like you, men who've tried everything, lost hope, then found something again through this quiet work, I no longer doubt its power. What I do question is why so few men ever hear about it. Why do we wait until we're desperate to learn the gentle truths that could have helped us thrive? Maybe the answer doesn't matter. Maybe what matters now is this. You're hearing it. Now. And if you try this practice for 7 days, just 7, you may notice changes not only in your function, but in your peace. Your sleep may feel deeper. Your chest may loosen. Your confidence may return. Not as bravado, but as stillness. And if you share this with a partner many men do, you might even find your connection growing in unexpected ways. Not because you've solved anything, but because you've softened, because you've shown up. And sometimes, that's all intimacy ever asks. Before I close this part of our conversation, I want to leave you with something simple. Not medical advice, not science. Just a quiet truth I've learned from walking with men at every stage of life. When you begin treating your body not as a machine that needs to be fixed, but as a companion that deserves your care, everything changes. So tonight, before you sleep, place your hand gently on your abdomen. Close your eyes and remind yourself, you're not broken. You're just beginning again. Some men reach a point where they quietly accept the silence, not just in the bedroom, but in their bodies, in the way they no longer look in the mirror with the same curiosity, or feel their heart stir when their partner touches their shoulder in passing. I've seen this more times than I can count. A man who once climbed ladders with ease, who once danced at his daughter's wedding with a looseness in his hips, now sits on the edge of his bed, staring at the floor. Not because he's tired, but because he doesn't quite recognize himself anymore. This isn't about aging. This is about disconnection. And every man, no matter how strong, how proud, deserves a way back. That's what this practice gives you. Not just an erection, not even just intimacy, but a path home. And let me offer you something practical. If you're serious about trying this and want to make it part of your life, here's how to begin without overwhelming yourself. For the next 7 days, set aside 2 minutes. That's all. Find a space maybe in the bathroom, maybe next to your bed, maybe outside under the early morning sky. Close your eyes. Tap the point just below your navel. Not with force, but with presence. 1 breath, 2, 3. Then bring your fingers to the top of your head. Soft tapping. Let your mind go blank, like fog lifting off a lake at sunrise. Finally, rest your hands on the soles of your feet. Maybe not both at once, just one. then the other. And as you touch that place, K1, imagine roots growing down into the earth beneath you. Feel your body settle. Not heavy, not dull, just grounded. And after you finish, don't rush to analyze. Don't expect fireworks. Just go about your day. Let your body do what it's been quietly waiting to do. Recalibrate. Remember, reopen. Hi. One of the most surprising things about this practice is how many men say that the tapping itself becomes more valuable than the outcome. I once had a patient named Howard, 67, divorced, recently retired. He'd spent most of his life with calloused hands construction work. When I first suggested this, he chuckled. "You want me to poke my own stomach and feet like a monk?" he asked. But to his credit, he tried. And after a month, I got a letter from him. No medical updates, just this. "Doc, I don't even know if it's helping my sex life, but it's helping me feel like I'm not a stranger in my own skin. That's worth more than I thought." That's what this work is about. Too often, older men are handed pills and sent on their way. And while medication has its place, it should never replace your relationship with your own body. Because here's the honest truth. The most powerful medicine you have is awareness. Not obsession, not fear, just the quiet act of noticing, of checking in. How do I feel today? Is there tightness in my chest? Do I feel connected to my breath, my belly, my feet? These questions are not soft. They are brave. They are the questions of a man who is not giving up, but coming back. Oh, wait. You might still be wondering, why now? Why does this matter at my age? Let me tell you why. Because men over 60 are often carrying decades of untold stories, of shame, regret, missed chances, or even just the numbness that comes from pushing through for too long. We learn to shut down emotion to survive, to man up, to pretend nothing was missing. But in doing so, many of us shut the door on intimacy too, not just with others, but with ourselves. This practice, these 3 taps, are like knocking on that locked door again. Not to kick it down, just to say, I'm ready to come back. And when you do, you may find that nothing behind the door is broken, just waiting. There's a phrase I heard once, from a veteran I treated for pelvic pain. He was 73, had seen things no one should see, and yet he was the gentlest soul when he spoke about his late wife. He told me, "Doc, I never wanted to be a machine. I just wanted to be present for her. And now, I want that for myself." That's the kind of intimacy we rarely speak about. But it's the kind we're truly craving. Not to perform, but to be witnessed, to be felt, to be known. Tapping helps clear away the noise that stands in the way. It doesn't fix you, because you were never broken. It simply clears the fog, so you can walk forward with your shoulders a little lower, your breath a little deeper, and your eyes a little softer. So here's what I'd ask of you now. Let this be the beginning, not the end. Let this video, this message, this voice in your ear be a small nudge toward remembering who you are. Not who you were, not who you're supposed to be, but who you are now. Alive, aging, still capable of wonder. Try this ritual tonight, or tomorrow. Try it with your partner, or in silence. And when you do, even for a few seconds, feel something stir inside you. A pulse, a breath, a thought. I'm still here. Because you are, and that is enough. And if this message touched you, perhaps, share it quietly, as it was shared with you. Send it to someone who may need to hear that their story isn't over, that their body is not done speaking, that they are not forgotten. And if you'd like more of this, more moments like this, I'll be here. When you're ready, when you're willing, when the silence turns into a question again, I'll be right here, listening,